Down at the park, it's time to turn on the lights, because the Danbury Westerners are playing tonight. They'll be swinging their bats and they'll be hitting home runs. It's a night of excitement and family fun.
Welcome, sports fans, to another edition of Westerners Roundup.
Well, welcome baseball fans, Westerner fans, all baseball fans alike. Here at the Westerners Roundup, I'm Brian Irizarry. We got a great show in store for you. The Danbury Westerners playing some very good baseball as of late, 14-9. Second place in the Eastern Division, just 2 games back of the leading North Adams Steeple Cats, and hopefully the boys can take over first place in the next coming week here. We're glad to be joined by the head coach, Jamie Shevchik. Here today, we're going to talk a little bit about kind of like a mid-season recap as of right now, as we're in the last month of baseball here at Rogers Park. 11 out of the last 17 games that will be played at Rogers Park are going to be home games for the Danbury Westerners, so make sure you have made it on out. If you didn't make it in June, you need to come out in July. If you have made it out in June, as you can see, the team is making some strides, playing very good baseball, and the atmosphere at the ballpark is increasing. 5th in attendance in the NECBL, so things are starting to change here in Danbury. But we'll welcome Jamie Shevchik, the manager for the Danbury Westerners, on. You guys are playing some very good baseball. You guys are second in offense in the league, batting .274, very aggressive on the base pads. You guys had a 5-game winning streak, so things are starting to come together.
Yeah, we've been, of late, we've been playing some pretty good baseball. And we just took over the second place spot against over Bristol, a team that's handled us pretty well, and we've had a good game against them in that stretch. But looking to get to that top spot here in the next few weeks. Well,
during that stretch, you guys had a 5-game winning streak, 3 one-run games, one that stands out. Actually, 2 that really stand out. In Bristol, you guys were on the road. You were trailing by 6 runs in the 5th inning. You guys wound up coming back and winning 7-6, and then a walk-off win against New Bedford. It was kind of a seesaw battle towards the end, and then Mike Williams in the bottom of the 10th hit a walk-off home run to win that ball game. I believe by the same score, 7-6. But talk about that win on the road. I mean, it's hard to win on the road, but you guys were able to manage to come on back and eventually take the lead and hold on to it for the win.
Over the course of the last 10 days, I mean, we've been hitting the ball pretty well. I mean, every out in our lineup has been a tough out, but we've had a hard time scoring runs. We've been leaving a lot of guys on base, and it always seems like when we need that big hit, we've been struggling a little bit. In the Bristol game, we were just about down and out. Down 6-0, had a lot of opportunities to score runs, couldn't get anything across, made a few mistakes in the field to give them that 6-run lead, but we didn't quit. We've manufactured a few base runners and kind of went against the grain a little bit, played a little unconventional baseball, and it's been our theme the entire year is we've using our speed to our advantage. We lead the league in stolen bases, and we've kind of been playing a little bit, borderline kamikaze baseball, but we're creating, and when you're not scoring a lot of runs, you've got to find a way to create some runs. You got to put yourselves in a position to find a way to get some guys on base and move them up, and we've been doing that. We've been putting a lot of pressure on on the defense. So we weren't out. We were down 6-0. We got a couple runners on here. We were double stealing. We were still sticking to our game plan, whether it was a tight game or we were up, and got guys in a scoring position. Came up a few hits and worked our way back. Had a big, huge, I think 2 or 3 run home run from Dave Chokey, and got us right back in it.
What is the conversation like in the dugout? Or even from your standpoint to the guys, you're down by 6, but there's still a lot of baseball to be played. You still got to, you're right in the 5th inning, but you still got to get through the remainder of the ball game, and there's still a possibility where things could turn around. So, what did you say to them, and what's the atmosphere like when you're down by 6, but yet you started to mount that comeback?
We just had to stick to our game plan. We were hitting balls hard that entire game, and we've been hitting balls hard over this stretch. And all it takes is 1 inning. This team can go from, even though you can't shut us down, I mean, eventually those balls are going to fall. They're going to find some open spots, and we just had to be patient. We had to wait our turn. We had to create some opportunities and kind of just stick to the game plan. Don't force anything. Don't press. Stay relaxed, and that's exactly what happened. We were never out of it. We worked our way back, and great win.
You were talking about a little bit of the kamikaze play with the stolen bases. You guys have 63 stolen bases, next best team around the 40s. speed slows down the game. So when a guy is either picked off or tries to steal a base and then he gets thrown out, or there's a guy that winds up swiping the third base bag. I mean, is there do you ever get down on the guy, like, hey, you made a mistake, or is it just this is the aggressive style of play that we're going to do?
Never. From the very first meeting that we had with these guys prior to our first game, I let them know my style of play. And my style of play is to put pressure on the defense as much as we possibly can, and we're going to steal a lot of bases. There's going to be times where we're going to get thrown out stealing third, we're going to get thrown out, picked off at second base, picked off at first, and that's part of being aggressive.
Yeah.
It's going to happen. When you steal 63 stolen bases, or how many stolen bases that we have, there's going to be times where you're going to get picked off. And when you're overly aggressive, as we are, some people in the stands may see that as, what's this guy doing, stealing down 6-0. And when you make it, you're a genius. When you get thrown out, the spectators think that you're probably the worst coach in the world. But it's been working for us all year, and that's my style. We are very aggressive. And, the guys are buying it. We don't have burners, we don't have huge speed guys, but we have guys that are smart, that know how to run the bases. They get good jumps. We take advantage of every opportunity we have. If we've got a pitcher that we're against who is slow to the plate, we're going to take advantage of that. I pride myself on being able to steal third base with our guys. And, I told our players, I want to see you every game. I want to see that pitcher stepping off the rubber, making throws to second. I want those middle infielders constantly moving back and forth, because if that shortstop's going to get lazy and that second baseman's not going to hold you on, we're going to steal that bag every time.
And it also creates holes if you guys are going to do the hit and run. So when you're constantly moving people around, it creates other opportunities for the batter. Now, last time we had you on, we were talking about the team chemistry and how difficult it is when the guys get into town, and now it seems like they're starting to mesh together, and you guys are playing good baseball, the 5-game winning streak that we talked about, and you come from behind 6 runs, then also that seesaw game against New Bedford, you guys are going back and forth, and then you finally took the lead, you're holding on, you're 1 out away, and then all of a sudden, there's a 2-run double, and then they take the lead, but you guys are still able to come away with a win. So have you finally got to the point that you've been working so hard to get to?
Absolutely. And I think there's a couple key signs that you can tell when your team is starting to mesh. Number one, probably 95% of the team now has a nickname.
Okay.
All right, that's one sign.
Nicknames are important.
That's very important. Number two is, the atmosphere on the bench, the atmosphere on the bus. Those type of things is a real good telltale sign that your team is starting to come together. And I think the most important thing, and probably the funniest thing that you can tell when your team is meshing, is we're torturing the new guy. Any new guy who comes in, and we've had 2 new guys who've come into our club in the past 2 weeks. The guys have given them a hard time, and part of it is, the good part about it is, this team has come close. So anybody who now is coming in, it's going to take that new player a while to get used to the guys that have been here for the past 4 months, to earn your stripes. So we've been giving them, our players have really been torturing them pretty well, and that's that's a good sign that our team is really close right now.
Well, let's talk about the 2 new guys, and I could be completely off, but I think that I know them. John Giannis, the center fielder, had a great debut, 3 for 4 against New Bedford, and then Alfredo Rodriguez.
Yep.
All right, so I'm on the ball, at least, for a little bit. Let's talk about Alfredo a little bit. He's at third base. Derek Ingwe was playing third base. Now he's in the outfield. What's the mix-up there? And Alfredo, at times, looks a little hesitant at the hot corner, and then other times, he's making a miraculous play.
Yeah. He's a shortstop, and he's a shortstop by trade, and he's our best defender. We move the guys around a little bit in the infield to give other guys opportunities to play, but Alfredo is primarily our shortstop. He's going to be our shortstop for the rest of the year. One of the best defenders that I've ever had to be around. And offensively, he gives us a lot of speed on the base paths. Yeah. He's a good contact hitter. He's going to do what he needs to do offensively. But, he is going to save us probably 2 or 3 runs per game at shortstop. And John Giannis, the outfielder that we just picked up from North Carolina State, is another guy. Fast, very good hitter, controls the outfield pretty well, is going to get on bases, and he fits our style, which is find somehow to get on base and make things happen. Both those guys fit in with this team real well.
Well, talk about controlling the outfield and center field. Giannis did a very good job in that game against New Bedford. The one thing that I did see was a lot of the outfielders for the opposition are having some difficulties with the lights or reading the ball coming from the plate, because a lot at Rogers Park is the home plate area is shaded first, and then the rest of the field goes on. And the majority of ballparks are like that, but it's hard to pick up a ball coming out of a shadow, and now you're the outfielder trying to track it down. We saw that a couple times in the Yankee game this week against Toronto, guys losing the ball at the last second. So do you tell your guys an advantage, or at least take some sort of a lot of practice in the outfield so we have an advantage as a team, and when we can take advantage if somebody misplays a ball?
Home field advantage is big, and anytime we're taking batting practice, our guys are in position. You know, they're not at shortstop if you're an outfielder. They're out there, they're getting reads off the ball, off the bat. And, you know, the one thing John Giannis struggled with was once the sun went down and the lights came out, that's a whole nother atmosphere now that you got to get used to at Rogers Park. And there was a ball that he kind of got tied up with. You know, he came in, the ball went over his head. And we were able to get a play at the plate and take us to extra innings. But, you know, that's something that he had to get used to as well. So we start from the sun with the shadows. The lights go, the lights come on, the sun is gone, and it's a totally different atmosphere, again, that you got to get used to. But home field advantage is big.
Well, things are clicking on all cylinders for you guys. One thing that you can't control is the weather. And the temperatures have been 95, 100 degrees, 103, and you guys are going to be on the field at all times. We constantly hear about making sure you're hydrated and making sure that the guys get in some sort of shade. So what kind of things are you guys going to be doing to make sure that the kids are staying safe and hydrated all at the same time?
Well, constantly drinking water and staying refreshed. And this could be miserable weather to play baseball in. Obviously, you're playing we're playing in 98-degree weather. I told my guys, and I tell myself this all the time, if you have trouble getting out to the ballpark, and most of our guys are from the Northeast, I said just go back 5 months from now, and February, January, where it's 15 degrees and you're trying to practice or you're trying to play inside. I said, would you rather go back to that time, or I would take this weather, 98 degrees every day for the rest of my life, than rather to spend another winter in the Northeast. And majority of our guys being in the Northeast, they understand that it's tough sledding throughout those first few months in the winter. So this is we're going to get through it. But stay hydrated, stay loose, and get ready to go.
We're here with the head coach, Jamie Shevchik of the Danbury Westerners, here in the Westerners Roundup. Team is currently 14-9, second place in the Eastern Division in the NECBL. You can get all the information at DanburyWesterners.com. Talking about how the team is playing very, very well. And this is probably one of the first times that you guys have been playing well over the past couple of years. And they talked about it in the beginning of the season, all this hype, and now you guys are at that point. How do you make sure that you keep this constant through the remainder of the month, heading into the rest of the season, and not plateau and then drop off?
The only thing that we can control is what we do on the field. And if we continue to play the same style of baseball and believe that we can win every time that we step on the field, that's what we want to do. We're in a good position right now. We just have to maintain that pace over the next 3 weeks to get into the playoffs, to stay in the playoff race.
Let's talk about a couple teams that you guys are constantly chasing, and it's that top three battle between you, Bristol Collegiate, kind of the nutmeg neighbor, and then North Adams Steeplecats. Talk about those two teams. What do they have that have been caught in some troubles, and in the next couple games throughout the remainder of the month that you guys are going to make adjustments to try to defeat those guys?
Well, North Adams, we have their number. We've taken care of North Adams twice up at their place, and they haven't beaten us yet. It seems like it's the teams on the bottom of our division that have been giving us a lot of trouble. We dropped 2 to Holyoke, we dropped 2 to Vermont, and Bristol, it plays us anytime we play Bristol, they look like they're the best team in college baseball.
Yeah, their pitching is very good.
They're solid, and they've dropped a few games here, but up until that point where we beat them the other night, they've been playing some great baseball. 1 through 9, they hit. They're scrappy. They've got great pitching. Defensively, they're very good. You've got to play your A game to beat Bristol. So North Adams is a total different story. They're obviously one of the best teams in this league, standing in first place. But we've just played really well against them. We've had good pitching against them.
And speaking about your guys' pitching, you've done a pretty good job. Some guys have kind of, I guess, not to say bottomed out yet, but Started out very hot and then also slowed down a little bit. Where's the pitching at? Because the offense is spotty. You guys are kind of lacking a little run scoring, but then when you start to hit, it's contagious.
Yep.
But talk about the pitching and how that's going to help you guys stay consistent.
We're still looking for another arm or two. We're still trying to make adjustments to our rotation. We're still, we're constantly trying to figure out, should we move this guy out of the starting rotation, put him in the pen, put another guy into the starting rotation. We just have to be a little bit more consistent with our outings. Bryce Larman comes out and throws his first outing and 15 strikeouts, player of the pitcher of the week in the New England League. Rough outing is next one, then has a good outing, then has a rough outing. So we need to just be a little bit more consistent with our starting pitching. But when we get, when the guys are out there, they're competing, they're doing well. We've taken Tim Breckbuehler from North Carolina, moved him into the bullpen. Steve Catalina from UConn was a primary bullpen guy. We've moved him into the starting rotation. And we're going to keep moving guys back and forth until we can get that right mix of guys, starters versus relievers.
Now, this is kind of a random question, but the bullpen for the Westerners is located behind the press box, behind the bleachers, where they can't see the field. They can see the field a little bit, but it's really, if the third baseman's playing back, they can kind of see the shortstop and right center field, and that's about it. Is there a disadvantage to having the bullpen located away from the field where they can't stay up to date on on what's going on in the game?
The disadvantage of it is, we have to have a line of players going from the bullpen to our dugout, waving their hats to let us know when the next guy is ready.
Yeah.
We're worrying about the game on the field, and it's hard to figure out what we're doing in the bullpen or when the guy's set. The advantage to it is the opposing team has no idea if we have a lefty coming in, if we have a righty coming in. So and ballparks throughout this entire league are just like that. Keene's bullpen is behind the dugout. Bristol's bullpen is behind the dugout. All these ballparks throughout the Northeast they all have their own little quirks about them, and I think the theme is bullpens.
Now, from a managing standpoint, that gives you a little bit of a headache because now you're trying to guess. You're looking down at your roster card and you're saying, all right, who would they bring in if I was him? So you're constantly playing this guessing game. So have you had an opportunity where you maybe guessed wrong, and then all of a sudden now you need to change things up?
Well, sure. We don't know. Sometimes we don't know if they're bringing in a lefty or a righty. Do we pinch hit a lefty? Do we pinch hit a righty? Do we keep the guy who's in the lineup hitting? So it's always a guessing game, and it could get frustrating at times. It seems like majority of the games that we're on the road, we always have the advantage of having the hidden dugout or the hidden bullpen, and we have the hidden bullpen at our home place. So it's been more of an advantage to us throughout this year than a disadvantage.
You guys have a big game coming on up against Team Canada. We were talking about this off the air, about how you get a powerhouse team like that. That's a team that played in the World Baseball Classic. It's a bunch of studs. Mm-hmm. It's not a bunch of college kids. So it's a team that's going to come in here, and you're going to have a tall task to deal with Team Canada. It's coming up on Monday, July 12th at Rogers Park. You can get more information, DanburyWesterners.com. Talk about preparation for that, because it's not a team that you face like Keene or North Adams or Bristol. This is a really big step above.
We're going to treat it as a regular game, and we're right in the middle of a very, very intense playoff race here, and we're not going to put any extra pressure on the guys. It's an exhibition game. It doesn't mean anything. We're not going to go out there and burn our top three starters, because that's right in the middle of a couple key games for us.
Yeah.
But we're going to play to win. And we're going to go out there and we're going to put our best lineup out there, and we're going to do everything that we've been doing for the past few weeks, and hopefully walk out of there with a W.
With the psyche for some of the players, a lot of the hype there, or even in the minor leagues when there's a major league rehab, if you're a pitcher and David Ortiz is standing there, he's doing a rehab in Double-A, you realize who that person is. How do you what do you say from a manager standpoint? Calm down, this is just like anybody else. These are the pitches that this guy's going to throw, or, this is the hitter, this is how he likes to hit. How do you keep them calm? Because it's just like, it's game of baseball. You got to hit the ball and you got to pitch the ball.
Yep. I think from a pitching end of it, you've got to, kind of block out who the hitter is and the name on the back of the jersey, and kind of just go out there and pitch as it would be any other player. Make adjustments throughout the game based on what he's done or what that hitter's done from his previous three at-bats. But right from the beginning, it's got to be just another guy. Go out there and pitch and do what you need to do what you've been doing, for your last couple starts or your whole career, and do whatever you have to get this guy out.
We're kind of at the midseason recap right now. You guys are playing very good baseball. I'm sure that you've come up with some personal goals coming into this season. Have you accomplished any of them, and have you added new ones, to your personal goal now at the midseason point? Now that you're in the playoff hunt, and you're looking to take that top spot and make it into the playoffs, for the first time in a while.
Our goal has been from the very beginning to get to the playoffs. And we're in a very good place right now. There's a lot of teams that are breathing right up our backs. But our goal has been to get to the playoffs right from the beginning. We're in a comfortable position right now. We want to be in the top of the conference. By Friday night, we would love to be on the top of the conference, because that, those coaches who are in first place as of Friday night are going to manage the All-Star game in Newport. I would love to be out there. But our ultimate goal is to get into the playoffs, make a good run, and, hopefully have an opportunity to play in a championship game.
Where do you, with that said, with making the playoffs, with the heat that's coming down on the Northeast right now, you want to make sure that these guys still have something left in the tank if you're able to make the playoffs and make that run towards an NECBL title. So anything that you might change up, any guys getting days off, maybe get a half day off of the DH and put somebody else in a position, or any different things that you guys might do as a coaching staff to make sure that the guys don't get burned out, especially with the heat?
We've added a few more position players over the past couple days, and we'd like to add possibly one more. And the reason being is to give guys a day off here and there. Today we're constantly juggling our catchers back and forth. Thor Meeks is going to be doing a little bit more catching than he did the first month. Once everybody gets healthy, and that's kind of been an issue for us early on too, is two outfielders have been banged up a little bit. Those guys are starting to get healthy, and as they get healthier, they're going to be more. They're going to be in the lineup, which is going to give other guys the opportunity to get some more playing time. Some of the infielders we're going to move around, maybe play guys out of position a little bit to give somebody else a day off. But as we get through this, this stretch, we want to be healthy and rested going to the playoffs. But we want to make sure we're there as well.
Talk a little bit about the injuries. You guys have been plagued with that, and it happens all season long. Has there been any guys that you have an injury and you had to maybe put somebody in a different position that has kind of surprised you, that has really stepped up to the occasion when the opportunity arose?
We haven't had to. Dave Chokey is primarily a first baseman, and when we were going through that stretch of injuries, he's played probably about 10 games in the outfield, and he's done well out there. Primarily he's a first baseman, but he can handle it out there. Thor Meeks has played a handful of games at first. Mike Williams has played a few games at first. So we have a good group of guys that can play multiple positions, which makes it a lot easier for us. I think once Jimmy Brennan gets healthy and Brandon Boudreau is now getting to the point where he can play just about every day, our lineup is going to be probably one of the best in the league.
We're in the Westerners Roundup talking to the manager, Jamie Shevchik of the Danbury Westerners. Team is red hot as of right now. You need to make sure that you check out a bunch of the games coming up. 11 out of the last 17 in the month of July going to be at Rogers Park, and hopefully there'll be some NECBL playoffs going on. Talk about Tucker Nathans. This is a guy that kind of stood out last time that we had you on the show. This is a guy that you had said will eventually make it to the next level because of what he brings to the table every game in and game out. And talk about his play. I mean, he has really stepped on up, and now that you have said that, it seems like he's gotten a little bit better.
Right. Tucker's a type of kid that I hope gets an opportunity to play at the next level, and he deserves an opportunity to play at the next level. He is just one of those kids that works extremely hard at everything he does, and he knows what he wants, and he wants it pretty bad. Yeah. So he's going to do whatever he takes to get there. He's not a very big kid. Has enough power in his bat for a kind of a medium-sized kid. Not a great arm, but a good arm. Defensively, he's a very good defender. Not a great defender, but he goes out there day in and day out, and he does everything that he needs to do to get better, and that's what he wants. He wants to get better. He's one of those kids that's at the field an hour before batting practice, doing a little bit of an extra work, always talking to the coaching staff to try to get a few extra tips, and has turned out to be one of the best players that we've had here this year.
Let's talk about Derek Ingwe. You had mentioned him in that conversation too as well. Last couple ball games, he's been struggling just a little bit. Is he starting to get tired, or is it just one of those slumps that always happens?
I think he's just gotten a little bit away from what he's been doing for the first part of the year, and it's mentally he just has to kind of recharge his batteries a little bit, and he'll go through a patch of a bad game or 2 bad games, but then he'll have 5 straight great games.
Yep.
And he's gone through a little bit of a dry spell over the past couple of days, but if we're hoping that he gets back into it, and he's going to be fine for the rest of the year. Just mentally, he needs to, get a little bit more.
What's one thing that you guys need to focus on as a team from today moving forward that you would like to improve on?
More, probably better situational hitting. When we have opportunities to score runs, we have got to take total advantage of it, and that's kind of hurt us in the past. We have runners, bases loaded, nobody out, and can't score a run. That's something that is going to end up killing us in the long run. Missing some signs here and there. We've gotten away with some of that stuff. That's going to end up burning us in the long run. But situational hitting, when we have opportunities to score runs, we got to take total advantage of getting those guys across.
All right, so we've talked about the team a lot. I think a lot of people have gotten to know exactly where you're coming from. Let's talk about the atmosphere at Rogers Park. I mean, now 5th in attendance. Danbury's been on the bottom of the barrel in the NACBL for a long time, and things are really starting to change. And one thing that you can't control is the team. You don't know if the team's going to be good or bad coming into it, and there's other things that you can control off the field. But now everything's kind of, all the pieces are in place. So talk about how this has kind of helped you become a better manager and also have the team to be a little bit better and play some better baseball.
Well, people love a winner. And from the team's point of view, from the coaching staff's point of view, when you see everybody out in the stands, when you see 800 people sitting out there cheering you on, you feed off that. You feed off it as a manager. You feed off it as a coach. You feed off it as a player. It gives you that little extra step to do something a little bit more for the people that are there. And when we're pulling in, 5, 6, 7, 800 fans, that's pretty impressive. And it just, the entire atmosphere of Rogers Park has been tremendous. And we hope that it grows over the course of the next month. But it makes us want to play better.
Have you heard anything from opposing managers saying, "Wow, things have really changed around here"?
It has. The managers who have been in this league for a few years have seen the difference. My first year, 2 years ago, we finished in the bottom of the pack, dead last. There was only. I don't know if you can pay people to come out to the ballpark. Half the people in Danbury didn't even know that we had a team. Last year was a little bit better. We made a playoff run, more people got involved, and this year, when you're winning and more people know about the program, they're coming out and they're watching some pretty good baseball.
Well, I think the atmosphere has really changed at Rogers Park. We're glad to have Jamie Shevchik here in the Westerners Roundup. Remember, 11 of the last 17 games going to be played at Rogers Park are going to be right at home. Make sure you get on to DanburyWesterners.com and take a look at the information. The team is currently 14-9 in second place in the Eastern Division in the NECBL. There's a lot of games to be played, a lot of road games. There's an all-star game coming on up, and hopefully for Shev will be the manager of the team against Team Canada. That's a big game that's coming up. That's going to be on Monday, July 12th at Rogers Park. You can get more information at DanburyWesterners.com. And the next game at Rogers Park is actually going to be tomorrow. It'll be at 6:30 against the Vermont Mountaineers. And our very own Bob had a good opportunity to catch up with Dave Chokey. He hit a home run over the right field wall at Muzzy Field up in Bristol. And hopefully Bob could play that feature for us right now, and that'll wind up wrapping up the Westerners Roundup. For Jamie Shevchik and the rest of the staff here at Danbury Westerners, I'm Brian Irizarry. This has been the Westerners Roundup.